Somewhere in Park City, Utah, a woman sat alone with her phone, and she typed 4 searches, one after the other. The first search: what is a lethal dose of fentanyl? The second: if someone is poisoned, what goes on the death certificate? The third: women's prisons in Utah. And the fourth: Kouri Richins' net worth. She typed those 4 searches. Then she closed her phone. Then she walked into the kitchen, and she made her husband a drink. A Moscow Mule. Cold. Copper cup. Nothing unusual about it. He took it from her hands. He drank it. He kissed his boys goodnight. He went to bed. He never woke up. The autopsy came back. Fentanyl. 5 times the lethal dose. Inside a man who had never, not once in his entire life, used drugs of any kind. Eric Richins was 39 years old. He had 3 sons, ages 9, 7, and 5. He had a business he had built with his own hands. He had people who loved him. And somewhere in the state of Utah, his wife already knew exactly what the autopsy was going to say, because she had typed the search. But here is the part of this story that sets it apart from almost every other true crime case you've ever heard. Kouri Richins did not go quiet after her husband died. She did not lay low. She did not disappear. She wrote a book, a children's book, a soft, gentle story about grief, about loss, about a child asking, "Are you still with me?" She self-published it. She called local television stations. She sat beneath bright studio lights. She smiled at the camera. And she talked about grief, about healing, about helping children understand what it means to lose someone they love. The people watching at home were moved. Many called her brave. But there was one detail they didn't know. One detail that would change everything. She had searched those phrases 3 weeks before her husband died. This is Red Case File. And this is the story of Kouri Richins, a real estate investor, a mother of 3, a children's book author, and a woman who, on May 13, 2026, was sentenced to spend the rest of her life in prison on what would have been her husband's 44th birthday. This is that story. Eric Richins grew up in Utah. By the time he met Kouri, he had built something real, a stone masonry business that was doing well, a reputation in the community as a hardworking, generous man. People who knew him described him the same way, over and over again. Kind, devoted, a good father. Kouri was ambitious, driven. She had a real estate business, buying and flipping properties. On paper, the 2 of them were building something together. A family, a future, a life in one of the most desirable places in America. But beneath that surface, something was very wrong. What investigators later uncovered about the state of the Richins' marriage is not what the family photos suggested. Kouri Richins was millions of dollars in debt. Her real estate business was hemorrhaging money. She had been hiding the financial collapse from almost everyone around her. And she had a boyfriend, a man named Robert Josh Grossman, a relationship she was conducting in secret while still married to Eric. Here is where it gets dark. Because at some point in early 2022, Kouri Richins made a decision, a cold, calculated, premeditated decision that she had clearly been planning for weeks. She began taking out life insurance policies on her husband. Not 1, not 2, multiple policies, opened without his knowledge, without his consent. Policies that, if Eric Richins died, would pay out millions of dollars. Millions she believed she would collect. Millions she planned to use to start a new life. Debt-free, with another man. The plan was already in motion. And Valentine's Day 2022 was the first attempt to carry it out. February 14th, 2022. Valentine's Day. Kouri Richins gave her husband a sandwich from a local restaurant, a gift on the most romantic day of the year. From a wife to her husband. That afternoon, Eric Richins called two of his closest friends. He told them he felt like he was going to die, that something was horribly wrong, that after eating the sandwich his wife had given him, his body felt like it was shutting down. He survived. He recovered. He never told police. He may not have known what had happened to him. He may not have been able to imagine that the woman he was married to, the mother of his children, had put something in his food, but the sandwich had been laced with fentanyl, the same synthetic opioid that has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. Odorless, tasteless, lethal in the smallest amounts. The dose wasn't enough. Eric Richins survived Valentine's Day. And here is the detail that the judge at her sentencing called the most damning thing about this entire case. Kouri Richins did not stop. She did not feel relief that her husband was alive. She did not feel guilt or remorse or fear. She spent the next 17 days not changing course, but doubling down, planning, preparing, acquiring more drugs, waiting for another opportunity. That opportunity came 17 days later. March 4th, 2022. The Richins' home outside Park City, Utah. The children were in the house. Kouri Richins prepared a Moscow Mule cocktail for her husband. Prosecutors argued she slipped fentanyl into the drink. Enough fentanyl to kill a person 5 times over. 5 times the lethal dose. Into a single cocktail. Handed to her husband. By his wife. Eric Richins drank it. He went to bed. The next morning, he didn't wake up. Kouri Richins called 911. Emergency responders arrived at the home. Eric Richins, 39 years old, father of 3, with no history of drug use whatsoever, was pronounced dead. An autopsy was performed. The results came back. Fentanyl intoxication. Approximately 5 times the lethal dosage detected in his blood. A man with no history of drug use. No prescription for any opioids. No known contact with fentanyl in any form. Dead from 5 times the lethal dose. The medical examiner who testified at trial was unequivocal. Eric Richins showed no signs of heart disease. No stroke. No natural cause of death. He was poisoned. But here is what investigators found when they began looking at Kouri Richins' phone. Her search history, typed by her own fingers in the weeks surrounding his death. What is a lethal dose of fentanyl? Kouri Richins' net worth. If someone is poisoned, what does it go down on the death certificate as? Women's prisons in Utah. She searched for women's prisons in Utah before she was even a suspect, before anyone had accused her of anything. She was already thinking about prison, and her phone records showed something else. She had attempted to remotely delete data from her phone. After her husband's death, she also, almost immediately after Eric died, attempted to claim the life insurance policies she had secretly taken out on him. Policies he never knew existed. Policies she had forged documents to obtain. She believed she was about to receive millions. She believed she had gotten away with it. She was wrong. In the months after Eric Richins died, Kouri Richins did something that stunned everyone who would later hear about it. She wrote a children's picture book. She called it Are You With Me? She self-published it, and she described it as a gift, a way to help her 3 grieving sons navigate the loss of their father. The book featured gentle illustrations, soft colors, a story about a child asking if a lost loved one is still with them, still watching, still present, still there. Kouri Richins went on local Utah television to promote it. She sat in front of the cameras. She talked about her son's pain. She talked about the difficulty of explaining death to young children. She smiled. She promoted the book. The woman who had typed, "What is a lethal dose of fentanyl?" into her phone was now on television talking about grief. The woman who had forged life insurance documents was now presenting herself as a devoted mother, helping her children heal. And the woman who had given her husband 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl was describing for a TV audience what it felt like to lose the person you love most. She had no idea, sitting in that television studio, that investigators were already watching, that a woman named Carmen Lauber was already talking, that the search history on her phone had already been flagged, that the life insurance policies had already raised alarms. In May 2023, 14 months after her husband's death, Kouri Richins was arrested, and the children's book, it was pulled from shelves then. The case against Kouri Richins was built piece by piece, over months, by investigators who refused to accept that a healthy 39-year-old man with no drug history had accidentally ingested 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl. The star witness was a woman named Carmen Lauber. She had worked as a housekeeper for the Richins family, and she testified that Kouri Richins had asked her, not once, not twice, but 4 times, to acquire illegal drugs for her. During one of those conversations, Kouri Richins asked for something stronger. She called it, and this detail was repeated in open court. The Michael Jackson stuff, a crude, chilling reference to the drug that had killed the music icon years earlier. She wasn't looking for fentanyl by name. She was looking for whatever it would take. Carmen Lauber testified she sold Kouri illicit pills multiple times. In the early months of 2022, the same months Eric Richins was first poisoned on Valentine's Day, and then killed 17 days later. Then came the phone records, the forged insurance documents, the secret policies taken out without Eric's knowledge, the boyfriend Robert Josh Grossman, who appeared in court and reportedly wept while testifying. The prosecution painted a picture of a woman who had methodically planned her husband's death for one reason and one reason only: money. She was millions in debt. She falsely believed she would inherit his estate, worth more than $4 million. She had secretly insured his life for millions more. She had a boyfriend waiting. She had a plan, and she had executed it. Over 13 days of testimony, 40 witnesses. The defense called zero. Kouri Richins declined to testify. Her own lawyers appeared confident the prosecution hadn't done enough. The jury disagreed. They deliberated for less than 3 hours. On March 16, 2026, they returned a verdict of guilty on all counts: aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, forgery, insurance fraud. Eric Richins' family embraced in that courtroom and wept. Before sentencing, the court heard from the people most affected by everything Kouri Richins had done. Not investigators, not prosecutors, not forensic experts, her sons, The three boys, now aged 13, 11, and 9, submitted written statements to the court. Their words were read aloud by therapists because the boys themselves were not present. The middle son, identified only as AR, wrote, "You took away everything from me and my brothers. I don't want you out of jail because I will not feel safe if you are out." The oldest son accused his mother of a list of cruelties, of killing almost all of his animals, of showing the children videos of starving children in war zones when they refused to eat undercooked food, of making him paranoid about sitting on his father's side of the bed, telling him he might die there too. All three sons said the same thing, in their own words, in their own handwriting. They would not feel safe if their mother was ever free. And then the court heard from Kouri Richins Benson, Eric's sister, the woman who now has the three boys in her care. She looked at Kouri directly and said, "Richins' sons are not props for some twisted children's book about grief and loss, and yet that is what they've been reduced to. Think about that. A woman killed their father, then used their grief as the premise for a book she promoted on television, their pain packaged and published, while she was the one who caused it." Eric's father, Eugene Richins, stood before the judge and asked for one thing: life without parole. Not just for justice, but to protect his grandsons. The same boys Kouri had been writing about. The same boys she claimed to love above everything. May 13, 2026. 3rd District Court, Park City, Utah. The same town where Eric and Kouri Richins had built their life together. The date was not random. May 13, 2026 would have been Eric Richins' 44th birthday. The judge chose that day deliberately. Kouri Richins stood at the podium in a lime green jail uniform, handcuffed, flanked by her attorneys. She spoke for nearly 40 minutes. She addressed her sons, who were not in the courtroom. She called them her sweet baby boys. She told them she would always love them. She told them to be like your dad. She told them she was innocent. And then she said something that made the entire courtroom go still. She looked at the families and the cameras and said, "As much as you've been influenced into thinking that Dad was murdered, that I took your dad from you, that is completely wrong. An absolute lie." The jury of 8 people who had listened to 40 witnesses over 13 days disagreed with her. In under 3 hours, unanimously, Judge Richard M. Razik looked at Kouri Richins and delivered his verdict on her life. He said, Kouri Richins was convicted unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt of attempting to murder Eric Richins, her husband and the father of their children, and then, having failed in her first effort of spending the next 17 days not changing course, but doubling down, preparing to try again, and ultimately completing the act through the administration of poison. He sentenced her to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. "A person convicted of those things," he said, "is simply too dangerous to ever be free." Kouri Richins vowed to appeal. She said she would fight the charges no matter how long it takes. There is also a second criminal case against her related to her wider financial dealings that has not yet gone to trial. Her attorneys will appeal. The legal fight is not over. But in a courtroom in Park City, Utah, on what would have been his 44th birthday, Eric Richins finally got something, not his life back. Not his son's childhoods back, not the years they will never have with their father, but something, his name, said clearly, in a room full of people who finally believed him. Eric Richins was 39 years old. He had a stonemasonry business he had built with his own hands. He had 3 sons who called him the dad everyone wished they had. He had no history of drug use. No idea what was in the drink his wife handed him. He died on March 4, 2022. In his own bed. In his own home. In one of the most beautiful towns in America. His sons are now in the care of his sister. They wrote letters to a judge asking that their mother never be released. The youngest of them was 5 years old. when he lost his father. On May 13, 2026, the day Eric would have turned 44, Kouri Richins was sentenced to spend the rest of her life in prison. The children's book is no longer for sale. If this story moved you, like it helps this channel reach more people who need to hear stories like this. Subscribe for more deep dives into cases that matter. And drop a comment below. Because I want to know, do you think the children's book was calculated? Or do you think any part of her grief was real?